Thanks, Claire. Some of you may know me. I have spent 4 decades in the real estate space, probably longer. It's part of my DNA. For full disclosure, Raul and I have a professional business relationship in Guyana. I am also a member of GARP. I am a realtor associate in Guyana. I work with my partner, Raul. We're also close friends. My journey in the real estate started when I was like around 6 years old. I watched my grandfather build a 2-story, 3-bedroom family home and convert it into a 3-story, 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom home that he more or less designed himself. I watched him fire contractors in the middle of the process and hire new teams. I was 6 or 7 years old. So I've got a very good approach to doing real estate. I started my own investment company, mortgage company back in the 90s in Toronto, Canada. My son currently runs it. I've lived throughout the Caribbean, spent a lot of time in St. Lucia. My father's Grenadian, so I spent a lot of time in Grenada. I've got the Bajan business and Jamaican business partners. I did a lot of business in Jamaica and Barbados. My first foray into working with people in the diaspora started around the early 2000s when a lot of Jamaicans were going back to Jamaica. And one of the challenges they had, which Raul alluded to earlier in this conversation, is that if you came from a simple environment where you grew up and you spent 30 years in North America and attained some level of success, it was very challenging to go back to those environments and build the biggest house in the poorest neighborhood. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And the other challenge a lot of them had is that most times when they went home for vacation, they stayed in resorts. They didn't stay in a regular home. So they had a very skewed perspective of what life was like going back there full time. And Angela mentioned the same thing also. Like, what do you do when you go back to these places after having a very healthy career spanning 30 plus years in North America or other parts of the world? Like, how do you fit in? So my position over the last 25 years was advising clients in that transition. What do you do when you get back there? And as Raw mentioned, what, where, when, and how do you buy, right? Going back where you came from is nostalgic. It doesn't always make sense. You want to find yourself in an environment where there are similar people around you. And then you have to also decide whether you're going to buy a home or build a home. Buying sometimes makes more sense because it's easier, but building becomes more personal. And I'm going to speak on the building part of it because the buying part, Raw can speak up. I'm going to speak on the building part. So my mom is Guyanese, for those of you who don't know.